Today I'm going to be sharing with you a hidden feature that's on a lot of high-end shears that you may or may not know about. Knowing how to properly use this feature on your shears is going to help you be more comfortable when you're cutting. It's going to help your cutting be more precise. It's going to increase the range of motion on your shears, and it's going to help reduce injury. So what is this? I mean, shears aren't that complicated. So what kind of features do shears have besides moving back and forth, right? In order to have proper shear posture, you really want to avoid jamming your thumb in the thumb hole like this. You don't want your thumb to be perpendicular to the shear blade. You want to do everything you can to make your thumb align with that shear blade and point in the same direction as that blade. So a lot of high-end shears, in order to help you accommodate that, have what's called a shear saddle. There's a little bit of a shape difference, and I'm going to get a little bit closer to show you. So you can see, if I compare this to just some basic Joel shears, they look like, like people would normally draw a picture of shears. But if I compare them to these are my Hikari new Cosmos, look at the curve right there. And that is meant as a little saddle that your thumb sits right inside to help you get a better grip. What's the best angle for this? Maybe like that. And you can see that I'm able to really, really move comfortably. I'm able to really move comfortably without putting my thumb in that hole at all. You can do the same thing with a conventional shear, but this makes it a lot more comfortable. And a lot of times, a lot of cutters will literally hold their shears like this, with the thumb completely, well, how do I do that? With the thumb completely out of the thumb hole. I tend to be a little bit more, I kind of use the edge of my thumb in that hole, which is nice if you don't have fingernails. And let me show you how important this is. So if I have my thumb in that thumb hole, that really decreases my range of motion. So I can hold my shears like this, and already my wrist is starting to be angled back. You want to try to keep your wrist as straight as possible when you're cutting, as well as your elbow down. Anytime that you have your wrist in an extreme position like this, or too far back like that, I can't even do that, or too far back like that, that's gonna open you up for injury. That's an extreme motion. You also wanna try to keep your elbow down. Not necessarily down, but you really wanna make sure your elbow is below your shoulder. Anytime you lift your elbow above your shoulder, that's gonna open you up to funky back and hip positions, and the long term is gonna put you in a position to be injured. So if I have my thumb in the hole, I can go from here to there. So if I can cut level this way and level that way, and even down a little bit, look how extreme that makes my wrist here. And when I want to go level here, that makes me really either put my elbow above my shoulders or put my wrist in a really compromised position. And I can't even get a good range of motion with that. But if I just take my shears and put them out toward the edge of my fingers a little bit more, and I'm using comfortably, have my thumb resting in that saddle, that allows me to drop my elbow when I'm level this way. And I can even raise it and keep my wrist virtually straight. And then I can get 180 degrees around with barely any wrist motion. So now, if I'm doing this, I have a much greater range of motion. Even if I want to put my wrist at a little more extreme angle, I can go from here all the way down almost 360 degrees, all while maintaining a very comfortable wrist position. And that's all because of that little saddle. That's going to allow me, so that's it allowing me to have a much more comfortable body position. For more precise cutting, that's going to allow me to keep my stationary blade actually stationary. If I jam my thumb in that hole once again, you'll notice what is referred to as the stationary blade is actually moving. If I really put my thumb in there, it's almost impossible not to move these fingers because our anatomy just isn't built that way. But if I get my thumb out and realign it, I can keep the top very, very steady and only be moving that stationary blade. If my stationary blade is stationary, these will push the hair less as I'm closing. If I'm opening and closing both ends, the hair is going to want to push out of my blade more so than if I'm just moving the single blade. And lastly, just avoiding injury. So I talked about keeping your elbow below your shoulder. I talked about avoiding extreme wrist movements. And then I also addressed keeping this blade stationary. The other side effect not only is having a lack of precision in your cutting, but if I'm moving more than just my thumb and I'm engaging the top of my hand, that's going to open me up for the repetitive motion injuries like tendonitis and carpal tunnel. So I really want to make sure that I'm being as stationary as possible. All of that is made much, much more easy by that little saddle inside of the shear.